Julian, what should we break to today? Just fantasy, since we're doing fantasy.
Let's get it.
All righty. Fantasy on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Slumpbuster. Quiet on the set. Make sure my mic is on. Aris, and Ju-Ju, dog, diving towards the pylon. Go for two, so damn rude. Recognize authority. Spitting tips for fantasy, no way you're outscoring me. Bold predictions with conviction every single day. Sports addiction, no restriction. Kicking game like Pele. He's the greatest, what's the basis? Pick an athlete, let's debate this game. Outrageous trading places. Sudden death, take 10 paces. Turn and shoot, boys the truth. Mamba mentality. Future greats take their place. Dreams become reality. Blowing outside, knocked it out the park. Your boy discovered fire like a rock with a spark. Refs acting like Neanderthals. Phantom flags, nothing calls. Heartbreak losses, tragic falls. Every week discuss it all. Settle in, listen up. Free your time like Andrew Luck. Show's about to start. I suggest you buckle up.
Fantasy. All right. As you heard, I got Ju-Ju on the episode with me. We're going to be running through a mock draft on Yahoo today. Looks like Julian's going to be drafting at 6. I'm going to be drafting from that 10 slot. So let's just get into it. We can read off who we're drafting. Kind of like we did our draft day special last year. We're going to be doing a little bit of analysis on that person, who is still available, and just be along for the ride. So Julian, how you doing today?
Another day, just quarantining. So now I get to quarantine and draft. So I'm okay with it. You know, at least we still got football on its way. And that's the only thing giving me hope right now in life.
So with all the documentaries coming out, what is one documentary you would love to see?
Barry Bonds, because Barry's kind of been very silent from the media. You know, not a lot of people know what's going on with his life since he wasn't re-signed by the Giants in 2007 and was kind of forced out of baseball, and now dealing with the Hall of Fame issues. You know, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa could generate as much buzz as they did. I kind of wonder how the all-time home run king would do in a documentary. I think that
one would be pretty fun to watch.
There's a lot to dive into with the Balco stuff as well, and I think there's definitely a good documentary to be had there. Kind of like sports adjacent, but I would even say like I'd be interested to dive more into Vince McMahon's life. I feel like that's another character like in the sporting world that I would love to kind of hear about him, because I've always heard stories about Vince McMahon. Like some of the craziest stories you'll find on like YouTube are former wrestlers talking about Vince McMahon. So like a whole documentary just like detailing the madness that makes the man would definitely give me some joy in life as well.
Yeah, because he's pretty stout businessman. I mean, outside of the XFL, he started the WWE, grew the WWE into a massive enterprise. I mean, they have WWE Europe, they do stuff in Saudi Arabia. So, I mean, just as a business standpoint, it'd be kind of cool to see how he grew that business, maybe if he did have any shady dealings, kind of growing that, or backstabbing, I'm sure there is inside of, some of those closed door meetings that they had growing that thing definitely be some pretty cool insight.
From what I know, wrestling was very like a regional thing. There was like hundreds of like territories and smaller promotions. And basically what his idea was and why he is such an influential figure is he said, rather than make it territorial, regional, let's make it national. So we just basically bought up all these smaller properties, got all their talent, and then just kind of unified it under one branch. And that's why the guy's a billionaire. And as far as the XFL stuff, I mean, not his fault. They would have done fine if COVID-19 didn't hit. The games were actually really fun to watch and go to.
Oh, yeah. XFL definitely would have I feel like they would have been around for at least 5 to 10 years, because nobody really saw a global pandemic coming in. When did it start up? September or something like that, whenever they started doing training camps. So nobody really saw that coming, unfortunately. So it looks like the draft is going to be starting here. It is loading up for us. We're going to get into these draft rooms. So at 6, Julian, you're looking for probably one of the top receivers, because you're not going to get one of those top running backs at that point. So at 6, what's your mindset going into the draft?
Well, I mean, it really just depends how the board falls to me. I mean, at 6 right now, so if you go off of – so we're doing this off of Yahoo, where it has me positioned, I would draft Derrick Henry in theory. For me, myself, I'm not a big Derrick Henry guy. I just don't believe that he's going to maintain that same success, and the fact that he doesn't contribute at all in the passing game kind of concerns me as far as like a top 10 running back. So, I mean, Dalvin Cook's there. Joe Mixon's there. You have Adams. Michael Thomas is a fringe top 5 guy. He's right now number 4 overall on the board. So if I get fortunate enough to draft one of those top tier running backs, I'm going to go for it. I wouldn't mind Dalvin Cook at 6. I guess we'll just see how the board falls to me.
Yeah, so at 10 right now, they have me drafting Tyreek Hill or one of those lower end tier 1 running backs, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, which I'm not too entirely sold on, especially Aaron Jones with the drafting of A.J. Dillon in Green Bay. And then Chubb is definitely going to get work taken away from him by Kareem Hunt more this year than last year, because Kareem Hunt sat out, I think it was, 10 games. At least this year, he's going to be a little bit less of a workhorse. He's going to get a lot of work in the passing game, Kareem Hunt, that is. And then I'm right near the flip, so I can go maybe one of the receivers and then snag one of those top tier 2 running backs, Kenyon Drake, Josh Jacobs, or my guy, Austin Eckler. When drafting, do you let San Francisco bias into your draft sometimes? I mean, everybody's human.
No? No, I mean, I'm trying to win a league. I'm not trying to win my fanhood.
Very true. I mean, sometimes if, like this one, I'd be picking at 15. They have Austin Eckler at 17. That my fanhood might slip in there, just because, I mean, the difference of 2 slots isn't too bad. So
yeah, but, I mean, for the most part, like, if I see a better fantasy option, I'm not going to go with my guy just because he's my guy. It does get awkward, of course, because let's say your team is playing against the Niners, or you have players going against your team respectively, then it's just like, I want you to do good, but not too good. So there is kind of like that balance. But
no, my mindset is, as long as I don't have my defense, you can have 700 yards, 16 touchdowns, but we have to have 17 touchdowns as my team.
The draft lobby looks pretty much full, not a lot of auto pickers. And let's see, CMC, Saquon, Zeke, Kamara all went. So I'm next up on the clock. Let's see what this guy does at 5 right now. Let's see what Kenneth has going on. Okay, he went with Dalvin Cook. So that kind of puts me in a position where it's like, I would love to get a top-tier running back here, but Michael Thomas kind of fits around this range. So, yeah, I mean, if going off a PPR format, I mean, it's hard to pass up on Michael Thomas if he could repeat last year or even get close to those numbers.
Yeah, set the record, 4 catches. Derrick Henry just went off. Joe Mixon went off. So now I'm up next. I'm looking at Nick Chubb just went. So I can go with Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, or DeAndre Hopkins.
Julio's there too.
Ooh, Julio is there too. So, man, let's go with Julio. Julio is kind of silent but deadly. You never really hear much about him.
You might want to draft. There you go. You almost got auto-picked.
I know, almost got auto-picked. That's probably the worst feeling in fantasies, when you actually have an auto-picker. People are kind of annoying that way. Aaron Jones went off at 11. Kenyon Drake went as well. So now at this point, there's still really good receivers. Do I want to double up on receivers, or do I want to go and get a top running back, because I'm not up for 20 picks? That's always the bad part about it being one of the edges of the draft.
I mean, that's true, but the way I look at it too is, like, you look around that range of running backs compared to the wide receivers that are still on the board. You definitely have some top flight options at the wide receiver position to take. So, hell, a combo of Devontae Adams and Julio Jones, you could certainly do worse.
Yeah, so I got Devontae Adams, Julio, Golladay, and then running back-wise, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler, and then Travis Kelce. But let's go ahead and go Devontae Adams. I feel pretty good with my top 2 receivers now.
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs just went off. D-Hop went off.
creeping up on me. I'm actually next up on the clock. So I'm in between. Let's see. So Eckler's there. Travis Kelce's there. Godwin's there. Gurley just went. Okay. So a little bit of an interesting move there. Now,
So
in
now
terms
you're
of
up. You also do have George Kittle there at 22.
yeah, but in terms of fantasy options, I'm going to go with Travis Kelce in a PPR league. You know, I think he's a positional advantage that's hard to underrate. I think he's still the Chiefs' top option in the red zone, and touchdowns count. So I'm going to take him, and I feel as though confident at least at that range. So middle of the second round, Travis Kelce sounded good to me.
Yeah, pretty good pick. Looking ahead towards my next pick in that range, I have Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, A.J. Brown, Melvin Gordon, and Amari Cooper. Do I want to be that guy that drafts a quarterback in the top 3 rounds? Personally, I don't like that.
Yeah, I would veer clear personally myself of doing that. At this point right now, so I got a wide receiver and I got a tight end. Probably going to have to look at my running back options there, but at the same time, it's like if the value's there, I have to kind of lend credence to that depending on who's there, because I can draft for positional need, but I also want to make sure I'm getting my money's worth too at who I'm getting.
Exactly. Last couple picks: Chris Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster, Austin Eckler, George Kittle, Kenny Golladay, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire going off the board as well. Interesting pick, Juju Smith-Schuster, somebody reaching for him in the second round where his ADP is a lot lower right now. Would you be good with picking up Juju in the second round?
A little bit too high for me, but it's all dependent on Big Ben coming back. Big Ben's healthy. He certainly likes to give his top wide receiver a lot of work. I mean, you look at all the years with AB and Santonio Holmes, Mike Wallace. Whoever's the top guy there gets his fair share of targets. So you would think that that's going to be Juju.
Yeah, so off the board now, Odell Beckham, a little high as well, Allen Robinson, and DJ Moore. DJ Moore, I feel like it's a little bit high at the 28th pick, but the board is, right around there. You had Adam Thielen, Mike Evans, still on the board to draft above DJ Moore.
All right, I'm on the clock. So around this range, at least via Yahoo's rankings, it has me either Adam Thielen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, A.J. Brown, Melvin Gordon. All these guys are there. I'm actually going to go against the grain here on this pick. I'm going to go with someone that I like the possibilities for them. Caught over 70 balls last year. Give me Leonard Fournette. He's going to be my running back to lead this team.
All right, yeah. I like that pick. Patty Mahomes just went off at 31. So there's that guy picking quarterback. Because I feel like quarterback's that high, you can still get some decent value player-wise and get a serviceable quarterback getting you 22 points or so around that for later in the draft. But now I am up. I have a plethora of receivers now. I'm going to go with a guy in Kris Carson in Seattle. They are a run-first team, so I like that. The goal line, he's going to be the main goal line target because they like to run the ball so damn much. And I hated having Russell Wilson inside of the 5-yard line because they just ran the ball so damn much.
As far as Kris Carson goes, if he can stay healthy, great. If Rashad Penny doesn't get a lot more work, fantastic. Going to be up to him because there was some questions also in the offseason whether or not they might just trade him or move off of him as well. So guess we'll see when it comes to Kris Carson. Looks like you're back up.
All right, so I'm back up. I do need another receiver or another running back, but Raheem Mostert's the only one in that area. There's also Lev Bell down there. Who do I want to go for? I have very few time. Let's go Cooper Kupp in a PPR league. Running out of time there. I had to hurry before I got auto-picked. But I like Cooper Kupp in a PPR league, especially with the rapport that he has with his QB. Looks like somebody left the room, so we have another auto-picker.
And I'm back
Julian,
up. Yeah.
You are up next.
So currently, Michael Thomas, Fournette, and Travis Kelce is my team. So whether I want to build up more depth at the receiver position or the running back position, that is a good question. I feel as though this is no bias at all. He's at the top of the board right now. I'm going to go with Raheem Mostert just because I feel the Niners are ready to give him the bulk of the work. Yeah, he was averaging about 5 to 6 yards per carry at the end of the last season, and he's definitely a threat with that zone blocking scheme to score some touchdowns for you too. So, that rounds out at least my starting running back group, so I'm okay with that.
And the Shanahans know how to use running backs. That's always a plus.
They do the running back by committee, sure. But the bottom line is whoever the running back is that pegged as the starter for the game, he's going to get some work. He's going to get some good work. So if he can capitalize on 15 touches a game, which I think Raheem Mostert can with his speed, then by all means, I'm okay with drafting him as a top-end running back too.
And at this point, it looks like I'm shaping up to be a no RB type of draft and getting value draft picks later round at my running back position. The way that this is shaping up to be, because in my next area, I have Darren Waller, Cam Akers, DJ Chark, and Russell Wilson around that point. So looking like I'm going to be running a no RB draft.
I feel like for the most part, I find myself doing a lot of no wide receiver type drafts, mostly because there's a lot of depth at the wide receiver position. I feel that you can capitalize on later in the year in terms of the waiver wire. Running back, you're very dependent, of course, on injuries, having that handcuff situation figured out. So I feel more comfortable with my teams generally when I have good depth at the running back position as opposed to having to play it by ear. But, that's a preference. That's a preference by myself. Everyone is entitled to feel differently. I've just never been a big believer in no RB. At least I don't feel confident in my drafts following that day. But at the end of the day, you're not supposed to feel completely 100% confident at the end of your draft, right? You're supposed to.
I don't think I've ever ran into, after my draft and be like, you know what? I like this draft. I'm always like, I could have done better here, could have done better there.
Looks like I'm back up here. So, options currently on the board for me. Devin Singletary's there. David Johnson's there. T.Y. I think probably where I'm going to go at this point in the draft, pick someone with a lot of upside here. So I'm going to go with drafting Devin Singletary. I figure he's going to be the main guy in Buffalo this year. They're going to be a run-first team, and he could continue to grow in terms of the passing game work. I think he will be potentially a running back two in his own right.
This is a message brought to you by the Foundation for a Perfect Package.
Why do I need Manscaped?
Why do I need Manscaped?
Why do I need Manscaped?
Because the only frill I want is the one up top.
Because being in a relationship is not an excuse to be lazy.
Because I like talking ball, not smelling like them.
Because deforestation is proven to prevent forest fires.
Manscaped is the only brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming.
Manscaped's Crop Preserver guarantees that you smell your best all day long.
Manscaped Boxer Briefs are the most comfortable underwear on the market.
Manscaped's advanced skincare technology makes nicks a thing of the past.
Manscaped is the #1 in men's grooming. Subscribers get 2 free blade refills every 3 months. Get 20% off plus free shipping and handling with the promo code SLUMP at manscaped.com. That's the promo code SLUMP at manscaped.com. Get your Lawnmower 3.0 today.
We are the Slumpbusters.
And we approve this message.
All right, so I'm back up. Do I want to go quarterback at this point or hit another receiver, because I'm not seeing much running back depth at this point? So we'll go ahead and just go, man, it's going to be a boomer bust guy, but T.Y. Hilton we're going to have to go with. Hopefully he could stay healthy throughout the year, but I'm oversaturated now with running or receivers. I have 4 with 1 running back.
The thing about T.Y., just like you mentioned it, a bit of a boomer bust character, and he is starting to grow a little older, and we'll have to see how he does with Phillip Rivers in their first season together. I was looking at, admittedly, your guy Keenan Allen, a little earlier in the draft, but I had my questions of how he was going to do with Tyrod. A lot of these new quarterback, new wide receiver combinations do have to kind of factor into your draft strategy a little bit at that position.
Yeah. So I am back up. DeAndre Swift just went off. So my running backs, which I desperately need, I have Kareem Hunt or Darius. Guys both kind of scare me. So I'm going to actually go Let's go tight end. Sure up that position. Best one on there is Hunter Henry. I feel like with a new quarterback, he's going to be relied on quite a bit.
Well, I mean, it's all
I
dependent
just don't
on,
like drafting a quarterback that high, and I'm already oversaturated with receivers.
well, it's just going to be all dependent on how, again, he interacts with Tyrod. Tyrod had a decent season with Charles Clay a couple years ago, back when he was starting over there in Buffalo, but there's still a lot of question marks. So I'm on the clock here. I feel like I'm going to take a chance because I was surprised this guy wasn't drafted here. I see AJ Green is still on the board, and when healthy, we know how good AJ Green is.
Oh, yeah.
One of the elite top 5 wide receivers in the game. He has a new quarterback over there himself, a rookie quarterback, so big question mark there. But if there's a wide receiver that Joe Burrow could count on in his first year, I would think it would be AJ Green. So I'll take a risk. We're sitting here in round 7, the end of round 6, round 7, so I feel as though that's the right spot to draft AJ Green.
Yeah, definitely. I was pretty high on him last year before he had all the contract dispute and just didn't want to show up because I felt like he was going to show up. He didn't show any indications that he was going to sit out the whole year. So I was real high on him because he's just such a beast when he's on the field and healthy. He's a top 5 receiver, so can't go wrong with him.
Matt Breida went off the board. Kyler went off the board. I like Kyler coming a little bit this year. It depends on where he goes because I'm looking at this draft and how the lobby is breaking down. You're seeing a lot of quarterbacks go in the top 6 rounds. You know, in a lot of leagues, I feel as though comfortable drafting a quarterback all the way in round 10 sometimes. You'll be surprised that some of the names are available at that point.
Yeah, you're going to have Tom Brady available late in the draft. The front end of his schedule doesn't look good. It's the back 8 games where it's either outside in Tampa Bay, which is warm weather, or in a dome, his last 8 games. So you can't go wrong as a quarterback with those types of conditions.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And remains to be seen, too, if we're going to see any, like, NFL bubbles as well, potentially, like in the sports world. So, okay. Looks like I am back on the clock. So I have my starting wide receivers figured out. I have my starting running back figured out. I have a tight end. At this point, as far as the top 5 options, there's Jared Cook, Jarvis Landry, Josh Allen, Tyler Higbee, and Will Fuller. I'm actually going to do something a little bit interesting here. I am going to handcuff A.J. Green by drafting Tyler Boyd. Now, I feel like as though Tyler Boyd is a solid option himself in his own right, based off what he's done in the past couple of years. But if A.J. Green goes down, he's arguably the wide receiver 1 over there in Cincinnati. Kind of a little strategy, kind of a little bit of depth building. Obviously, I'll have to figure it out when it comes to bye week situations, everything like that, being that they are on the same team. But overall, it's just a unique strategy because we always think of handcuffing running backs.
All right, so I'm back on – man, all right, so – I'm going to double up. I don't like doing it this early, but Matt Ryan is there. That's a 12-point touchdown to Julio Jones every time. So we'll go ahead and go QB there. Board kind of dictated it. I need a running back. There's not any decent running backs that high up. So we'll see when I'm back up in 2 picks. I'm probably going to have to reach on a running back. Josh Dobbs just went off board. So I'm looking at running back wise, Darnell Henderson, Keyshawn Vaughn, Marlon Mack, which I'm not happy with. So let's go with Keyshawn Vaughn down there in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. I feel like he's going to have a decent season. Neither one of the running backs there showed a decent amount of ability to take the lead from the other one. So Keyshawn Vaughn is coming in on a level playing field. And I feel like he's more talented than 2 running backs that they have in Ronald Jones and
Well, you know, to me, I think I'm going to disagree with you there. I think if Ronald Jones is still on the board, he's actually going to be my favorite pick at that point. Just given I do believe that there is an opportunity for Ronald Jones to really establish himself as back. And there are certain games where you turn on the TV and he looks solid. Unfortunately, he actually legitimately went one before me. So my backup plan in that situation is just going to be kind of a safe, high floor kind of bet. I'm going to go with James White out of New England. I at least feel as though he's still going to receive a certain amount of target volume with Jarrett Stidham as the QB, some check downs, some short yardage situations. And at this point,
news for him as well.
At this point, he's my running back 4.
Yeah, good news for him is Sony Michel might start the season on the PUP list.
He wasn't really too reliant, I guess, on necessarily Sony Michel, just because they were still using James White as mostly like that third down role, a passing situation role, whereas Sony Michel was pretty much strictly a first and second down running back. But I don't know. I think he's still going to remain a still consistent option in that passing game, even with Brady gone. He's just good. He's talented for the position, and we'll see. I mean, Rex Burkhead did kind of take away from him a little bit, which is kind of disappointing. But at running back 4, there's not a ton of options that I'm really like going with at this point.
So at this point, we're pretty much drafting for depth. Pretty much got our starting lineups available. I'm pretty happy with my receivers. I'm a little worried about running backs. So hopefully I can get some value at running back here in the later rounds. It's not an ideal situation.
Yeah, well, we're starting to see, let's see, Christian Kirk just went off the board. Brandon Cooks just went off the board. Actually, Brandon Cooks kind of a sneaky wide receiver to go at this range. Like potentially that speed element with him and Deshaun Watson. I know the popular theory is Bill O'Brien's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. But at the same time, they got some decent pieces now working over there in Houston. Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, both sitting over there. You know, David Johnson, we'll see what they could get out of him. I know you had to sacrifice a star player, but you managed to flip that into getting 2 or 3 more. So who knows? Might work out better. We got 3 picks before I'm back up on the clock.
So now we're seeing a little run on quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield just off the board. You have Matty Stafford there, Tom Brady, and we had our first kicker off the board, which is Justin Tucker.
That's a shame. You know,
I'm so pro kicker, but I'm not that pro kicker.
Yeah, here's the thing, guys. Again, just if your league forces you to have a kicker, draft him last round. There's very little difference. It's literally less than a point difference between the top kicker and the 12th kicker. So at this point here, do I want to go quarterback? Do I want to try and build up some other positions here? I have 20 seconds to figure it out.
Got Tom Brady, quarterback, Matt Stafford, quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is still there as well. Tannehill, Big Ben.
Nah, I think I'm going to keep building up my depth. Give me Emmanuel Sanders in New Orleans.
That's a good pick. I like that one. A little bit better than the Ted Ginn that they had.
A lot better than
the field on the other side of Michael Thomas. The only problem you have now is you have both New Orleans receivers.
It's not entirely a problem if I can balance it. You know, it depends. Like there's certain situations. New Orleans definitely is a pass-heavy team, so I think that he's still going to get his. And I think Drew Brees is going to love Emmanuel Sanders. He's a reliable target. I think he's had less than 5 drops consistently over the last few years. So yeah,
and another kicker went off the board. So do I build up receiver depth, or do I do my loving thing of 2 tight ends? I'm going to draft a tight end here. I love running 2 tight ends in leagues. I'm going to go old reliable and a bit of a wild card in Mr. Rob Gronkowski.
That's a bit interesting because you don't see a lot of teams typically draft 2 QBs, 2 tight ends. Usually we'll sacrifice a backup at one of those 2 categories. So you're coming back up on the clock pretty quick here.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, I'm going to have to start looking at running back depth. I have Kerryon Johnson, Latavius Murray, or Phillip Lindsey. So I'm not too very confident in any of those guys. Will Lutz, another kicker off of the board. So let's go ahead and go Phillip Lindsey. I don't know. Phillip Lindsey or Kerryon Johnson, both going to be in a timeshare.
At least Lindsey showed that he could carry the ball more consistently.
For a whole season.
Yeah.
We're going to go Phillip Lindsey there. Timeshares suck, but at least they didn't draft a guy very high. But they are paying $10 million to Melvin Gordon.
Hey, with Melvin Gordon's health history as well, you can't underrate the fact that he could potentially be hurt this year.
Yeah, he's never played a full 16 games, Melvin Gordon.
See, now here at this point in the draft, I'm looking at my team and it's like, okay, I might cave and go with quarterback. And the reason I might do that, and high upside potential, and you're telling me here in 2020 I could get this guy in the 10th round, I'm going to draft Aaron Rodgers. I feel as though
Aaron in the 10th round.
Yeah, the value's there for him. It makes sense. He still has upside. I think that Aaron Rodgers has diminished. Don't get me wrong. I have been very vocal in the fact that I think that he has diminished as a quarterback in certain respects. He's not the elite tier option that he was a few years ago. But this is why you wait, because here I am in round 10 drafting Aaron Rodgers. You know, there was no need for me to necessarily go up. And even if I wanted to, still the top QBs on the board at this point. You have Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill, Ben Roethlisberger, Jared Goff. Even if you go down, Jimmy G's still there. Sam Darnold's still there. There's still options there. Drew Lock is still on the board. There's a lot of quarterback options still out there. Hell, even, let's see, Phillip Rivers, Joe Burrow, if you want to take a chance on a rookie. So that's why you wait. That is my soapbox moment on that. Let's see. I'm trying to think about my next pick here.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was researching ahead because I'm probably not going to go the guys in my next area because it's tight end, quarterback, and Tevin Coleman, who, again, is going to be in a timeshare. And good luck predicting which running back is going to get to work that week, because I did that with Tevin Coleman last year, and there'd be sometimes where he would get me 2 points and freaking Mostert would have 21. So it's just like, come on.
I mean, it's not really luck at this point. I mean, we know that Mostert's the main guy.
Yeah. But last year, Coleman went in as the main guy, and he had maybe, 3-4 good games. I mean, it's just a bit rough.
Well, he had the big week 6 against Carolina. But after that, it was pretty much Mostert's job to work with. Mm-hmm. I think around week 10, you could pretty much solidify Mostert as a back-end running back 1. Especially after a certain point, it was just so obvious for Kyle Shanahan that who the better running back was in that situation. And Coleman's good, but I think there's also potential for Coleman to get cut.
Yeah, very true. Or even traded at the beginning of the season if a running back goes down or something.
Well, here I am. I'm back up on the clock. So, given the recent news about potential holdouts, give me Mr. Alexander Mattison.
Dang it!
In the event of a Dalvin Cook holdout, round 11, if he's still on the board, grab him, scoop him up. His ADP. Julian. His ADP going closer to draft day is only going to fly up more and more if Dalvin Cook seriously keeps going with this position.
Had to wait 3 more picks. Come on.
Nah. Not going to let it happen. You can always get, as far as popular handcuffs at this point, let's see, Tony Pollard's still on the board.
Tony Pollard.
In case
Zeke getting Corona.
Yeah, Zeke's still recovering. So apparently he threw a party, and that's where he got it.
Oh, gosh. So I'm going to reach on a guy because he's not going to be there with my next round of picks. But Justin Jefferson is a popular rookie. There it is. Filling in for Stephon Diggs, pretty much plug and play from what Diggs did last year. And if I can get him in the 11th round, because he's not going to be there for my next go-round, so I'm going to have to reach a little bit on him. So I'm very happy with that pick.
Fair enough. I liked it too. I was thinking about Jefferson as well. But
yeah, I was going to double up on Mattinson and Jefferson, but you kind of messed that up there, buddy.
My bad. My bad.
All right. So this is going to be a bit of a reach, but Darius Geis cannot stay healthy, so Adrian Peterson is going to be another guy that you can plug and play, especially in the later rounds. You're looking for depth. Darius Geis has not done anything his NFL career but get hurt. So Adrian Peterson, not sexy. He's going to have like 700 rushes for 100 yards, but at least I can have a reliable option if something happens.
That's fair. I guess, here in the later rounds, my thing I'm probably looking for is a little bit more upside than AP because, AP, like, he's fine for what he is, but he's not going to contribute at all in the PPR game. He's going to plod his way to maybe 700, 800 yards. Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the clock here. Like you mentioned, I do have a situation at wide receiver where I have 2 Bengals and 2 Saints. So just to break up continuity and someone that I think might have some stuff left still in the tank, I'm going to go with Golden Tate. Now, I like Tate. He's a great PPR wide receiver. And also in some games when it came with Daniel Jones at QB, he balled out. He was definitely someone that Daniel Jones looked to as a reliable target. And, Golden Tate, he's very few times the last few years has he been a bad option in fantasy.
Yeah, no, he's been a pretty good option lately. So, looks like Julian is – oh, no. It was way down on the list. Never mind. We still got a bit ways to go. So, now pretty much everybody's going – past their ADPs. Another kicker in Greg, the leg went off. So I'd probably look towards a kicker. This is where I'd start to look at a kicker, maybe. You do have one more bench slot going forward. So, if you wanted to get a kicker here, you could. New England is the first defenses off the board.
I don't know. At this point, how I like to build my team, there's a lot of drafts where I won't draft a backup QB, I won't draft a backup tight end, I won't draft a backup DST, and I won't draft a backup kicker. Just because I feel confident in my abilities to pick up guys at those positions later on.
And that's 3 bench slots.
Yeah. And for the way I see my team currently, Aaron Rodgers, for the most part, as long as he stays healthy, should just be a guy that I could just count on at that QB1 spot. When it comes to tight end, I got Travis Kelce, so I'm not really worried about picking up a backup tight end right now. And DST and kicker, you can just pretty much stream based off who they're playing, especially at the DST spot. So I'm in no rush to pick up someone at those positions. I'd rather just grab people that continue building out that depth. We only have about 3 picks left in terms to close out this draft. I'm actually back up on the clock myself. Probably want to go back to one of the flex positions here. Top options on the board: Alshon Jeffrey, Tony Pollard, Duke Johnson. I am going to go with Tony Pollard. Just take a chance in the case that he has any injuries or anything like that. That's my running back 6 at this point. And even in some games where Zeke had to just get subbed out, Tony Pollard looked like he could carry the rock for that team. So, not a bad option to have just in terms of building out this bench a little.
All righty. So let's see what we have. I'm up in 2 picks. There's some pretty decent stuff still on the board. Alshon Jeffrey just went off. I'm looking at now.
Preston Williams, too, which is another guy I was looking at hard.
Duke Johnson. Oh, it is my turn. So, we got Jamal Williams. Oh, this is interesting. Henry Ruggs definitely has the ability to develop into the number 1 receiver in Las Vegas. And I'm picking him up in the 13th round. So
I could see that, but my concern on Ruggs is that he's not going to be a consistent option out there just because, for one, Derek Carr doesn't necessarily throw the ball deep or have a proclivity to do so. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of boom or bust, especially for a rookie with a shortened training camp this year.
Yeah, but I feel like receiver is one of the easiest. Devonta Freeman, a free agent, was drafted. So now it's my turn. Do I go kicker? Do I go defense? No, let's not do any of those. In the 14th round, this guy is still there as a plug-and-play guy for relief and injury, Justin Jackson.
Yeah, potentially. Like Austin Eckler.
If
smaller
Eckler
back
goes down, he's the top guy.
Yeah, smaller back. Don't know what we're going to necessarily get out of him, so I could see it. I think I'm probably going to try and fill out one more wide receiver slot before I force into defense and kicker. So, based off my options here, because I'm next up on the clock, there's Curtis Samuel, Hunter Renfrow, Denzel Mims, Rashad Perriman, Deshaun Jackson, Devin Funches, and John Ross III. So I already have 2 Bengals. I can't exactly go there.
Funches is an interesting pick this late as well.
That's fair. Though, someone that I actually like and doesn't really gain much buzz. You know what? Actually, psych. He was mostly clicking with Nick Foles. He wasn't really I was going to say D.D. Westbrook, but he didn't really show much rapport with Minshew.
No, that was all Chark.
I'm going to take a chance and see if Rashad Perriman could develop as the wide receiver 1 out there with the Jets. There's not a ton of options out there, but at this point in the draft, I mean, if he could get lucky, if he could click with Sam Bradford, I mean, he has to throw the ball to somebody. So, I mean, Rashad Perriman's there. The rookie Denzel Mims is there. At least Perriman's really started developing. He was at one point a first-round wide receiver himself a long time ago.
All right, so we pretty much have 1 pick to go. It's looking like I'm not going to be drafting a kicker. So I'm going to be going a defense here, and particularly not loving a lot of – let's see, on defensive side, we still have Denver, Chargers, Indy, Jets, Philly, Seattle, Cleveland, Dallas, Houston. One I do see down there, Tampa Bay looks like a good one. Tennessee as well. Or do you want that sieve of a defense in Green Bay that allowed 180 yards rushing before contact?
Yeah, that was not their best performance. Oh, wait, are we actually on our last pick?
We are on our last pick. So it looks like me and you are going no kicker drafts.
Interesting.
Which is
caught me off guard. Caught me off guard because usually a lot of these auto draft systems will force you into a position if you didn't draft it. So
I think it's just if it's an auto draft, it is. But you can, I mean, hell, you can even go another bench slot and pick up a defense and kicker inside of the actual season.
My strategy for that, because I have done that before, is if let's say your draft is in like early August, then you obviously have plenty of time before the season to try and figure out stuff. So just draft a bunch of like high upside guys, and whoever is not producing during the preseason, cut them, pick up your kicker before week 1. Anyway, as far as who should I pick up here, a few seconds. Screw it. I'm going to take Cleveland's defense.
Cleveland's defense. It's not a bad one. They did. Hopefully, they're going to be bringing in Clowney. He's really the only team that he's linked to at this point is Cleveland. They're just trying to figure out a number to put him at, which will definitely bolster that defensive line. And then you have Clowney, and then you have Myles Garrett on the other side. Pretty good little D-line there.
I think they could pick up some sacks, and I think they're good for a few turnovers. So,
all right. So I'm drafting Tampa here. I like that they're not going to be having to battle against 38 turnovers from their quarterback, which has put them in terrible spots to put up a terrible defensive slate last year. They did finish inside the top 10 last year from when they were at 30 at one point of the season. So, I mean, you can't really fault it there. So, Julian, why don't you go ahead and run off your team real quick?
Okay. So, as of the moment, my starting unit is comprised as such. At QB, Aaron Rodgers. I have Michael Thomas and A.J. Green as my starting receivers, Leonard Fournette and Raheem Mostert at running back. My tight end is Travis Kelce. And then in my flex, currently I have Devin Singletary. On my bench, I have that composed of Tyler Boyd, James White, Emmanuel Sanders, Alexander Madison, Golden Tate, Tony Pollard, and Brashad Perriman. So, like mentioned, no kicker, but early draft, I don't mind it. It's a strategy, if you want to not draft a kicker right off the bat. If you're drafting later in the preseason, like around that August 31st time window, then sure, you're going to have to, because you're going to have to literally pick up a kicker in like a week anyway. So you might as well just draft one, but no rush.
Yeah, if you're drafting there around like National Draft Day, which I think is the third after the third preseason game, might as well.
See, even in a draft in which I had to draft a kicker, I still managed to not draft a kicker because I truly despise the kicker position in fantasy football. Kickers are people in real life, but in fantasy, go away. Just go away.
For all of my pro kicker toutings over the last season or so, I did not draft a kicker either. But my starting unit, I have Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Devontae Adams. So solid top three there. Kris Carson is always a sneaky, back-end RB1. Keyshawn Vaughn, Hunter Henry. Cooper Kupp is in my flex. Defense, I have Tampa Bay. And then on the bench, T.Y. Hilton, Rob Gronkowski, Phillip Lindsey, Justin Jefferson, Adrian Peterson, Justin Jackson, and Henry Ruggs III. So I'm going to be watching running back waivers pretty much all season, which kind of sucks, but it was kind of unless I really wanted to reach on a running back, it's kind of the hand I was dealt for the 10th slot today.
Yeah, I mean, there were points in the draft, and maybe this just knocking off the rust, as we get into this fantasy football season. But there was points where it's like, oh, wow, I'm back up on the clock again. Who do I need? What positions I need to fill? So, I was trying to analyze the value of the spots we're in. Like, I would have loved to have drafted a running back in the first couple rounds, but as the draft board fell to me, it was just like Michael Thomas, Travis Kelce, they just made more sense.
Yeah, and most of the time, I will go more for value. A lot of people try to go in with that 0 RB or 0 wide receiver mindset, but I tend not to do that. I just kind of go, all right, what's the best available? And then I will start to look at, all right, crap, I'm 5 rounds in and I don't have a running back. Let's start looking at running backs. The other thing you do need to look at is bye weeks. So I have 1, 2, 3 starters. Bye week is 10. And then 1, 2, 3 players at 13. Week 13 is a bye week. 2 at 7, 2 at 8. So just be mindful of your bye weeks. Sometimes you might have to lose a player that you want to keep in order to secure a bye week, so you don't just take a loss that week. How are you looking bye week wise?
Bye weeks, I'm not too bad considering I did draft like essentially handcuffs to my top 2 wide receivers. But I would say the most concerning thing I realized in analyzing my bye weeks when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, so obviously I drafted only the 1 QB in this situation. Aaron Rodgers' bye week is week 5. So I got to figure out how I feel about Aaron Rodgers pretty fast in this draft, Like if I'm not feeling him after week 4, it kind of causes some interesting decisions when we go into his bye week. But overall, in the same respect, what I did at tight end, Travis Kelce with a bye week in week 10, that's perfect. I have 10 weeks to analyze my tight end position and whether or not or who I have to pick up at that point. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are drafting only one at a core position like tight end or quarterback.
Yeah, especially if you get those early round quarterbacks or tight ends or running backs, you don't have a decent enough handcuff just yet to plug in there. It's always put you in a weird spot. Like my quarterback is week 10, so I have a a decent amount of time to find a quarterback that's either playing really well, or by week 10, we know what defense to play a quarterback against. Like last year for tight end, it was Arizona. So you just pick up a tight end that was playing Arizona. You could find those matchups, especially week 10. You have 9 weeks of data that you can look at to get a decent replacement for your quarterback at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and with that said too, like you mentioned analyzing schedule, I would say also the tough thing about when you do have those early buy situations as well is, like I have not only 4 weeks to evaluate how Aaron Rodgers is doing, I only have 4 weeks to evaluate some of these like rookies I took a chance on in the later rounds, or these like handcuff situations. So whereas like, let's say in week 4, or we come out to the end of the week 4 and I'm still waiting for, Devin Singletary or someone to break out, right? Well, if Devin Singletary is the weakest part of my roster and I need a quarterback, then I might not have time to evaluate him. I'm going to have to hope I get lucky and pick him up on waivers the following week if I want to swap him out. And on that respect too, I have become a big advocate for FAB over the last few years. So if your league doesn't operate on FAB, I highly recommend it. It's the best way to do roster or do waivers.
Yeah, I've always never been a fan of FAB. I don't know. It's just one thing I've played one league in FAB and I wasn't a huge fan of it. Maybe I should have to try a couple more times running a FAB league. Maybe just to get the feel of it.
My preference for it is I just hate when the top waiver priority goes to who's worse. I think it should go to who wants the player the most. And I think that's what FAB incentivizes. You have to figure out how to navigate your budget for the remaining season. So if you want to blow out 50% of your budget on whoever pops in week 1, be my guest, but just know that you only have 50% of your budget to operate the rest of your season. So that's why I kind of like the little mental gymnastics that FAB makes you do, because I feel as though being a fantasy GM is the closest a lot of us will ever step it to being an NFL front office. So might as well get my money's worth with that.
Yeah, I've never done a league where like last place gets priority. It's always been reverse draft order, and then just whenever you use your waiver priority, you go to the end of the line. Those are always the leagues that I've been in. So those ones, it kind of stinks because then you got to weigh out, all right, do I really want this guy or should I wait a couple more weeks to use my waiver priority? Or you got to think, because I've had some people, like my brother-in-law in a work league, didn't use his waiver priority all year. And then when it counted, when the one guy came up, he was first to get the guy. So those are the leagues that I've always been in. So I'm glad I've never done the last place gets priority.
Yeah, the majority of leagues operate off of that. I think it's it's both ESPN, Yahoo default. I'm sure it's the default in a lot of other like platforms as well. So, it just sucks because it like incentivizes almost like the week 1 losers sometimes are in the best position because sometimes they'll get a guy that pops in week 1 that everyone wants. And maybe that's the guy that carries them throughout the entire season. So that's kind of another reason I just kind of detest that system. Like I said, FAB, if you want the guy, you pay for the guy. That's why I prefer it.
I might look into that then, maybe making because I'm the commissioner of my family league, so I might piss everybody off and do a FAB league this year.
We should do it for the Fantasy Football Podcast, Fantasy League, Fantasy Pod. League.
Yeah, better names coming.
League of Champions or something, a Champions League. I don't know. We gotta
figure it out. We do have one slot left as of this recording. So
actually, no. We should be filled. But
did you get an inquiry?
I did get an inquiry. So
nice.
Hopefully we are filled up there. So find out where Slumpbuster Fantasy Football stacks up amongst the fantasy podcast community. A lot of bragging rights are on the line here.
Oh, a lot of bragging rights are on this one. This is whoever loses has to disband their fantasy podcast.
We have Honestly, I was thinking
Unless it's us.
Honestly, I was thinking there should be like a good last place punishment here. Last place has to edit the other show for like a whole month. I don't know.
Do you want to put yourself in that position, though, Julian?
Oh, no. I would delegate. I'm going to start to delegate
Kris?
more. I'm going to start delegating those duties. But
make Kris record or edit all of them.
That's how it'd be. That's what we would do. But yeah.
But all right, guys, we are winding down now. That was kind of our first mock draft. That was definitely my first mock draft of the season. I tend to start my mock season in July, but this is making us do it a little bit sooner. So a little rusty on my first go-around, but I will definitely get better by the season comes around. And there's definitely a lot of auto pickers in these mocks, so it doesn't get the real feel until you're in an actual room with people that you could shit talk to. And if you're drafting against Anthony Jaramillo, aka Bigger Than Goliath, just take all of the Titans and you can trade him for whoever you want because he's a homer for the Titans, especially if you get Derrick Henry. Shout out, Anthony. Sorry, buddy. But you know where to listen to us. We are on Instagram at Slumpbuster Podcast, on Twitter, Slumpbuster Pod, Slumpbuster FFB, also at the website, theslumpbuster.com. We are on all major platforms for podcasts, so wherever you listen, go subscribe, like, download, rate, review, all those fun things. Julian, did you have anything to say before we headed out?
Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to our latest sponsor, razorsport.com. That's RAZER sport.com. These guys, they're set to help you guys beat Vegas. Not a lot of us are sharks out there in Vegas. A lot of us suck at gambling. These guys are out there specifically to help you beat the odds. They have tons of betting bots, tons of betting experts to give you the information you need. They're not going to tell you how much to bet, but they're going to tell you exactly who you should be betting on and what games you should look into. So definitely check them out. RAZER sport.com. Bust the slump.
All right, guys, we are out. We will see you again soon. Later.